There's your startup music. Pudding. All right, let's do this. So, fellas, we got a special bonus stream today. A special bonus stream. State of NASA is happening right now, or just starting up. What is the state of NASA? It is NASA's bi-weekly annual address to talk about the state of NASA. Here it is.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today at Kennedy's Space Center, America's spaceport. You know, 60 years ago, Kennedy was established to meet the challenge of landing a human on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. And for the last 6 decades, Kennedy has supported America's space program and launched the dreams of our nation. Today, we look ahead to the future and the exciting work that NASA is carrying out as we explore our universe. Please join me now in welcoming our NASA administrator.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do for this, guys, is pretty straightforward stuff. I'm gonna shut up. I just want to listen. So this is the last time I'm gonna talk for a second. Now I'll give it over to Pudding.
Everybody, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? Out there on pad 39B. Welcome to the Kennedy Space Center. 2 weeks ago it was that we were right here and our eyes were fixed on this iconic American building. The 322-foot mega moon rocket. It began inching its way out of that big vehicle assembly building. And from there, the crawler transported it 4 miles out there to the launch pad. And soon it will undergo the final testing before its first flight around the moon. Artemis 1's journey from High Bay 3 to the pad is symbolic of our work. The meticulous planning, the late nights, the relentless spirit keep pushing forward. And that's what NASA does best. That's what we do best. And nobody does it better. That opening video showed how our agency is inventing groundbreaking technology, how it's igniting imaginations, and it's inspiring future generations. We're having this discussion today because President Biden and his administration released this budget request, and it came this morning, and NASA's $26 billion fiscal year budget for 23. It's a request from the president, from us, and it is a significant increase over last year's budget. In fact, it's 8% more than the enacted federal spending levels, the appropriation bill, from fiscal year 22. It's the largest request for science in NASA history. But greater than any number or statistic or a fact is what this budget request represents. It's a signal of support of our missions in a new era of exploration and discovery. It's an investment in the business and the corporations and the universities that all partner with NASA in all 50 states. And by the way, good paying jobs that they create. It's going to help our nation. It's going to help the world. It's going to address climate change. And it underscores STEM education, and it promotes diversity and equity. and it expresses confidence in this extraordinary workforce that we have that makes NASA, you know it, the best place in the federal government to work. Now, the pandemic, it really challenged us unlike anything ever before. It challenged us personally with our families. It challenged us professionally. And during the period of COVID, the NASA family never missed a beat, never stopped giving hope to the country that we serve and to all of humanity. Your relentless spirit to keep pushing forward, your perseverance, it inspired NASA's new vision statement. This time we took it seriously, what the vision statement is. Exploring the secrets of the universe for the benefit of all. It's that vision that will guide our work over the next year. So, what are we doing, and what have we done? We launched the most powerful telescope ever built. The Webb telescope had the world on the edge of their streets during the million-mile voyage. 344 single points of failure. Skeptics focused in on everything that could go wrong, but oh, what a science team we have at NASA. And they poured everything into it, and it worked. And it's worked so far even better than planned. This summer we're going to see the first images I've seen, and you all have as well, the first target star. And what we're going to see in the images that are coming is revealing the stars and the galaxies that happened to form the first galaxy 13.5 billion years ago, just after the beginning. Think about that. Light traveling at the speed of light for 13.5 billion years. That's what we're going to capture.
Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. I'm trying to shut up so I can hear this
Look
guy talk.
also what else we've done.
Thank you very much.
We've extended the commitment to the International Space Station operations through 2030. And this decision empowers NASA to continue conducting groundbreaking research and collaborating with our international partners. Astronaut Mark Vande Hei is coming home Wednesday, day after tomorrow. And he's coming home with his Russian crew, and we and he will celebrate a historic 355 days in space. And for the safety of our astronauts, the working relationship between NASA and our international partners continues. And that includes the professional relationship between the cosmonauts and our astronauts. And soon, we're going back to the moon as Artemis. We're going to learn to live and work in a hostile environment. And then it's on to Mars in the late 2030s. President Biden's $26 billion proposed budget for NASA will begin to make this happen. So let's take a look at how this is going to happen. Roll the video. How about that? For decades, many of us have looked up at the moon every night and we wondered when would we touch the lunar surface again? That day is coming soon, because not long from now, right out there on pad 39B, 8.8 million pounds of thrust will propel an uncrewed Artemis 1 into the heavens. And after this 3-week journey of over 1 million miles, it'll come home faster and hotter than any spacecraft has before. In 2 years, then from Artemis 1, for the first time since Apollo 8, Artemis will fly astronauts around the moon. It won't be Borman, Lovell, and Anders. It'll be a crew that will be announced later this year. And it will take them farther into space than any humans have ever traveled before. And when we land the first woman and a first person of color on the moon as part of the Artemis program, we will inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers and explorers. Remember what happened after the Apollo program. You had several generations of engineers and scientists and technicians that all came out as a result of the extraordinary work in Apollo. But now, the Apollo generation has passed the torch to the Artemis generation. And this new generation is preparing to push the boundaries of what we know to be possible. It will not be a series of isolated missions. Instead, each mission will be a groundbreaking component built on the last, on the moon and beyond. So let's turn our attention to Artemis Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson to tell us more. Roll the video.
Thank you. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and I am joined right now by Artemis 1 Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson. Charlie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You know, we see your rocket there on the pad. How does that make you feel?
Well, when I look at that rocket on the pad, it is a mix of emotions for me. It's excitement. I feel a sense of pride for the teams and for all the men and women who have worked on this rocket to make it possible. I mean, you think about it and you see it, it's amazing. And really it's made up of hardware, software, elements, piece parts that come from across our country. And it represents the work and the dedication of men and women from all across our 50 states.
So what did it take for you and your team to get to this moment?
Well, I mean, this team has been busy developing flight hardware, the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft, the ground systems. I mean, our big team has been working on this for a number of years.
Yeah.
It's gone from a clean sheet of paper to a concept to a design to cutting metal and manufacturing parts, and then the integration and test to this vehicle that you see behind you. So when you think about the effort, what has it taken? I mean, it has taken dedication and support from a team of people from across our country. Most recently, as part of the work here at Launch Complex 39B, you know, after rollout, it's been all about getting those tests in prior to wet dress, and so our team's been really busy with that. But certainly, if you're looking back over time, you know, the efforts on this rocket started some time ago and span many different teams and many different programs.
So you mentioned wet dress. That's the next critical step before we can declare a launch date, right? How do you feel about this test? It's almost upon us.
I'm excited about it. Our team's excited about it. It is a big milestone, and it is the last big test before launch. And so when I say that, even now, I get a little bit of goosebumps because it's a big milestone. It's a big deal. Are we ready? We are ready. Our team has been training for this. We've gone through our tabletops. We've gone through our procedures. We've gone through our training, and our pre-test briefing is scheduled just a couple of days from now. So it's a very exciting time.
What are you most looking forward to for launch day?
I am looking forward to the team. There's a bunch of things. So the first one is I'm looking forward to our team having an opportunity to demonstrate all of the work, all of the training that they have been putting in for a couple of years now. And so I'm looking forward to that. From a hardware and a firing room perspective, I look forward to coming in on launch day, driving into the LCC and stepping out of the car and looking out at the pad and knowing that we're hours away from launch.
Yeah.
and seeing that excitement in the team. I look forward to getting into terminal count and seeing those last minutes and seconds tick off the countdown clock, knowing that we are potentially, once we get into terminal count, very close to engine start.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to that, kind of those last moments of launch countdown.
And Charlie, what would you like to say to all the people who've contributed their hard work and their dedication to get us here to this moment?
I would like to say thank you, a heartfelt thank you. This rocket sits on the pad ready for wet dress because of the dedication, the support, the excellent work by a team of people. I would say thank you. Thank you for all that you have done to get us here.
And thank you, Charlie. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thanks, Charlie. The Exploration Ground Systems team thanked you, every member of the NASA family. The progress that we have made was in big part because of you. And through these Artemis missions, we will make new discoveries and advanced technologies. You would expect that. And we'll do it in a way that we've never done it before. Just last week, we announced a plan for more competition to add additional landers to carry astronauts to the lunar surface. We expect to land about once a year for more than a decade. We're going to put an outpost or something like a station in lunar orbit. It's going to be in a polar orbit of the moon. And we're going to call it Gateway. And it will provide essential support for our return to the lunar surface, but it'll also serve as a staging point for deep space exploration. And our goal is to apply what we've learned living and operating on the moon and continue then out into the solar system. Our plan is for humans to walk on Mars by 2040. We continue the search for life. We're digging in Mars right now as one of our targets. We know rovers are critical components, but when you get down to it, you got to put the human in the loop. They are essential for exploration. The destiny of the human spirit is to explore. This year, a new inflatable heat shield is being developed that can actually slow down and survive re-entry on Mars. It's in this budget. So to sustain life on the moon and then on to Mars, we'll need surface power. We secured additional funding to build that essential infrastructure. Mars, of course, is millions of miles away. Research into nuclear propulsion is important. It will cut down the time it'll take for our pioneers to travel to Mars. It, too, is in the president's budget. Ladies and gentlemen, Mars is calling us. Last February, the Perseverance rover It arrived at Jezero Crater on Mars. And the Mars Sample Return Mission will come back to Earth, bringing the samples gathered by Perseverance from the crater floor. Perseverance is putting them at different locations in these vials that are about that long. And they're putting a stash of them here and a stash of them there. And a Mars rover will go around with our European friends and pick them up. And then we put it in a Mars ascent vehicle, and it goes up and it rendezvous with a spacecraft in Martian orbit that'll bring it back to the moon. Just think what we're going to see in those samples. They could possibly confirm the ultimate question. Did life exist on Mars? Does it exist now?
Why are they bringing the
If it
Mars
does,
samples to the moon?
well, where else in the universe does it exist? You know, at NASA, we dream big, and we're constantly pushing the limit of what we know to be possible. And that's why it's critical to leverage the speed and innovation of the commercial sector as we move forward. Our partnership with industry has already allowed more scientific research. And in December, NASA signed agreements with 3 American companies to develop designs of space stations and other commercial destinations. First in low Earth orbit, and then who knows what, out of LEO. This budget provides funding for these efforts. It enables a commercial economy in low Earth orbit where the U.S. will maintain an uninterrupted presence after the planned retirement of the ISS. So, part of NASA's commitment to lead in space means that we will also continue to lead right here on Earth. Last January, Dr. Kate Calvin joined the NASA family as the agency's chief scientist and first senior climate advisor. And today, she and the director of NASA's Earth Science Division, Karen St. Germain, are joining us from Goddard to explain how NASA is at the point of the spear on climate research. So let's turn it over to the team at the Goddard Space Flight Center.
Thank you, Administrator Nelson. As you just mentioned, we're at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, one of NASA's hubs of Earth science and climate change research. And I'm here with Karen and Kate. So Kate, what is on the horizon for NASA to continue to understand climate change and delivering that information to the public?
Observing our planet, how it's changed over time, and how human activities impacted it is not new to NASA. We've been doing that for decades now. But we're at a point where we need to go beyond gathering information. We need to make sure that people have what they need to make informed decisions. We'll continue our climate research, looking at things like surface temperature, greenhouse gases, sea level rise, and other aspects of climate change. But we need to take the next step, and in that, accessibility to data is critical. While all of our data is freely available to the public now, we're working in the future to make sure that it's easier to use and in good formats, and that people have what they need as they're making decisions, whether those are about climate mitigation, adaptation, or planning.
Thanks, Kate. And Karen, NASA is working to develop the next generation of Earth-observing satellites, the Earth System Observatory. How will that serve the science community and public at large?
Well, NASA's been a global leader in Earth observation, science, and modeling for over 60 years. But the challenges of climate change in particular mean we need more information and we need it faster. And that's really where the Earth System Observatory comes in. So the ESO is the next generation of satellite missions that will launch by the end of this decade, and they'll give us a 3D holistic view of our Earth system at a level of precision and accuracy that we've never seen before. And just as important as what we're doing is how we're doing it. We're going to involve industry to bring in innovation. We're working with international partners to leverage their capabilities. And we're doing it all under open science principles to make sure that we get to the science and the information products that people need to make decisions as quickly as we can.
And this is a question to both of you. How does NASA's climate change research help the average person? Let's start with you, Karen.
In most cases, today, people get access to NASA data through other agencies, federal, state, and local, as they manage things like coastal flooding and wildfires, and even through the U.S. Drought Monitor, which supports the entire U.S. agriculture industry. And speaking of agriculture, our NASA team just went to the major national agriculture commodities meeting to meet with farmers and agriculture producers and other key players to learn more about how they use NASA data today, what they need in the future, and how they need that information delivered.
Karen makes some great points. Whether people may realize it or not, NASA research has likely impacted things that affect their everyday lives or are used in long-term planning, and we're working to make that easier in the future. In addition, we also develop technologies that can help people mitigate or adapt to climate change.
That's fantastic. Many thanks to you both. Administrator Nelson, back to you.
Thanks, you two. What's clear is if we can measure this climate crisis, we can mitigate it. That's NASA's expertise. 8 of the top 10 warmest years on our planet occurred in the last decade. This is indisputable, and it underscores the need for bold action to safeguard our future. The President's budget will empower NASA to launch an Earth Information Center. They won't let me call it a mission control center, so they've gussied up the name. It's a Earth Information Center, and we'll use it as a mission control to monitor operations during spaceflight. We're embarking on this effort to monitor conditions here on our home planet. And this effort will be implemented in coordination with other agencies and partners. It'll monitor greenhouse gases. It'll integrate data from a variety of sources. And remember, this is a whole complex of assets that are up there, including the great observatories that we're going to put up over the next decade. Observatories that will give us precise data about what is happening to our planet, and that will look and give us the precise measurements on what's happening to the water, to the land, to the ice, and to the atmosphere. And the goal is simple: to make NASA more datable, NASA data more accessible and usable for federal, state, and local governments, universities, researchers, as well as the public. All of that, the Earth Information Center, like a mission control. But it'll be virtual as well. We'll even have it in kiosk around the country. This budget will give us the capacity to act more boldly and with greater urgency on trying to help save our planet. Now, this budget is also going to allow us to help mitigate the climate impacts in aviation. The X-57, an all-electric aircraft, is going to fly this year. It utilizes technology with the potential to make flying cleaner and quieter. I'm going to be out there at Edwards to see it at the Armstrong Flight Test Center. The President's funding request also supports a next-generation, highly efficient airliner prototype. NASA investments will result in safer skies, smoother passenger experiences, and faster aircraft. And that includes the X-59, which is going to fly this year as well. a supersonic but low sonic boom flight that can fly over populated areas. So let's hand it over to the Armstrong Flight Research Center, who are joining us live.
Thank you very much, Administrator Nelson, and welcome back to Armstrong Flight Research Center. 75 years ago, the course of aviation was changed forever when the late Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier in the first experimental aircraft, the X-1. Today, NASA continues that tradition of pushing the envelope through experimental flight in pursuit of advancing sustainable aviation for all of us. I'm standing in front of the X-57 Maxwell. It's a Tecnam P2006T that's been retrofitted as an all-electric aircraft. I have with me here one of NASA's test pilots training to fly the X-57 for the project, Mr. Tim Williams.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Tim. So, Tim, let's just start. What is the X-57 and what makes this a unique aircraft?
Well, this is NASA's first all-electric crewed aircraft. And it's been a couple years going, but basically all electric motors, and it has a battery as well. So it's kind of cool stuff.
Excellent. When we get a closer look.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to ask you, you've flown so many different NASA aircraft in your career here. What is it like training to fly a unique aircraft like the X-57?
The key to any successful project like this is a simulator. And it's part of the whole evolution when we go test. I go back to
I've flown in that simulator.
We've done a lot of work
you know.
in the last couple of years in building up that simulator to match it exactly what we have in this cockpit. You know, it's just me in this one. Now, I have normally 4 seats, but we took out 1 seat, put an instrumentation pallet, and the rest of the airplane is all batteries.
Landed.
So I can't wait to fly this, believe me.
Appreciate it, Tim.
You
Thank
bet.
you. Looking forward to it. I'm going to kick it up to my colleague Sarah Mann, who's with Heather up at the X-57 simulator. Sarah?
Thanks, Matt. We're here in the X-57 simulator with Heather Miliska and sim engineer Ryan Wallace. Heather, can you share with us the contributions the X-57 has given to industry?
Sure. The X-57 project has made significant contributions to industry. As a reference platform, we're able to influence industry, influence standards, and the future of electric aviation. The industry is interested in distributed electric propulsion, and with that, the project started with LeapTech. And LeapTech was a modified electric wing that we put on a semi-truck that we drove on the lake bed here at Armstrong Flight Research Center, and we were able to prove and validate that our motors could produce 300 horsepower.
Can you tell us about the batteries?
Sure. Our NASA engineers designed batteries that could cover the entire flight profile, and we did this safely to make sure that there was no thermal runaways, and so we were able to share this publicly.
Great. Thanks for sharing all this, Heather. Matt, back to you.
Thanks very much, Sarah. I have Sean Clark here, who's NASA's principal investigator for the X-57 project. And Sean, I know it sounds like we have an important milestone coming up for this aircraft. I want to ask you about that, but also you and I know that NASA's goal is to share the electric propulsion design and airworthiness process with regulators. But why is that important?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. We're really excited to take all of the engineering lessons learned that we're putting into this aircraft and get it into flight this summer. So we're all working toward that right now. And what's really important is that we learn from the fabrication and engineering development and airworthiness process and share that back to regulators and standards writers so that the aircraft of the future can take advantage of all the research that NASA is doing here and put them into the next generation of electric aircraft.
It sounds so awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
So the value that the X-57 project is already producing for the sustainable aviation industry is foundational, and we're proud to be paving the way for NASA's new line of crewed experimental aircraft, also known as X-planes, to include the truss brace wing, which is coming soon, as well as the X-59, which is NASA's quiet supersonic X-plane that could open the future to quiet supersonic flight over land, cutting flight times commercially in half. Administrator Nelson, back to you, sir.
Thanks, guys. And let's remember that the first A in NASA is aeronautics. So putting all of this together to chart America's pioneering course into the cosmos, we must embrace and empower the whole of our nation here at home. So we took the first steps with the launch of Mission Equity. We broadened our reach out with NASA's first ever Spanish language broadcast for the Perseverance Mars landing. And with a $150 million budget for STEM, for education and engagement, that was a 10% increase over last year. It's in the budget. And this is our opportunity to make limitless the potential of all Americans. Last September, NASA released its first comic book. It's titled First Woman, NASA's Promise for Humanity. You think that's a hit in elementary schools? Do you think that that ignites the imaginations of those little minds? It imagines the story of Callie Rodriguez, the fictional first woman to explore the moon.
Comic books.
This is a new generation of explorers. The Artemis generation.
Yeah.
It's also a story of where we are going as a country. We were in the very successful Apollo generation. Now we're going to the Artemis generation. And I believe that this agency personifies the American story. It's a story that is never ending because of the work to create a more perfect union does not end. We have much work to do, but this is the work we must do together. And it's our leadership team's pledge to be your partner in this ongoing work. Let's recognize and bring down the barriers, both visible and invisible, that hinder fairness. Let's ensure underserved and underrepresented communities have access to NASA's programs and our resources and our opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a year since President Biden asked me to rejoin our NASA family. I'm just constantly inspired by the can-do spirit that guides our agency. And I'm proud to say that the state of NASA is strong. It's strong because the NASA family makes it strong. Over this past year, we've achieved missions once thought impossible. And we know this year, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a year since President Biden asked me to rejoin our NASA family. I'm just constantly inspired by the can-do spirit that guides our agency. And I'm proud to say that the state of NASA is strong. It's strong because the NASA family makes it strong. Over this past year, we've achieved missions once thought impossible. And we know this year is bound to be another banner year, full of breakthroughs and discoveries for the world's can-do agency. It's an honor of a lifetime to serve at NASA with you every day. Onward and upward.
Space is for everyone. We're all working towards a common goal. Just seeing people learn and grow and the community benefiting as a whole.
Quit age shaming my NASA administrator? Hey, there are certain YouTubers and people out there that you have to slow down to get them to talk normally, okay? Is that age shaming too? No, I equally apply my fast forwarding to and slowing down to people. Nah, guys, here, you want the honest to God truth? Bill, not the best guy to give a speech. Not the best guy to give a speech, but also you really can't give him a lot of crap because he got a second lunar lander on the books. Yeah, and whatever he's telling the president is the right thing, because they got the executive branch to ask for $2 billion more for NASA, and yeah, nobody out there going to convince me that more money for NASA is a bad thing. So, you know, you can say whatever you want about the guy's speeches. They're really not very good. But also, are we going to go over the budget and the Artemis plan? The NASA budget stuff. Yeah, I'll take a look at it, guys. But I do have stuff to do today. So, here, let's, NASA's still showing their B-roll footage and they're still showing B-roll. Okay, so keep in mind, fellas. All right, little breakdown of civics here. Okay, so this is a executive branch budget request. Okay, so for the people that might be overseas, or the people that haven't taken a civics course or U.S. history or whatever, or the people that didn't pay attention in school, I got you. So, how NASA funding works. Okay, the executive branch denotes NASA's policy. So that's the guy in the White House. Okay, it was the guy in the White House 4 years ago. It's the guy in the White House now. Okay, and the good thing is that despite executive branch administration changes, the budget is still trending upward, which is a good thing. That's great. Don't care where the money goes. More money for NASA is good. All right, so the executive branch asks. They give you a request, all right, and that's what this is. The request is what the plan is and where they want to spend money. So then they're giving a budget request to the House of Representatives, which is the lower house of Congress. That's the legislative branch of the U.S., okay? So the House of Representatives basically takes that request and basically drafts up legislation for it to become law, and then they vote on sending it to the Senate. The Senate is the higher house of the legislative branch. The Senate will sign that into law. If it goes through all three of those checks, then it becomes law. The Artemis program went through all three. HLS with Starship, that went through all three, that passed. SLD, hopefully, that's probably in this budget request. So keep in mind, this is not exactly what NASA's budget is right now. It's what NASA's budget could be if it, bing, 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 you go through all three of them. Have you talked about the SLS launch timetable yet? No. I would like to point out that for everybody that's saying, oh, Congress likes this type of stuff, guys. They do. Yeah. Everybody likes this type of stuff. You know why? Because this gets good paying jobs in all over the US. Remember, you can't hate on Congress. I get it. Believe me. You can hate the government. I get that too. Totally understand. Also, this is one of those times where the system I think works very well because everybody wants a little bit of that pie. So if you spread it around enough, I've talked about this, you spread it around enough, everybody would just be like, yeah, all right, cool, we good.
Discovery.
And before you say, oh yeah, okay, Jim talked about this. The past NASA administrator, he talked about how it's not a tug of war between science missions and human exploration missions. It's both of those things. Because if you do that right, you can maximize your science yield and keep everybody happy. You can have your cake and eat it too. It is. Thanks for the resubs, guys. All right. Well, so with that being said, this is a budget request. So from what Bill was saying, it looked pretty good. So here we go. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Barak. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You can. Yeah, can't. It's a good quote. That guy was pretty smart, if I do say so myself. And with that being said, I do miss Jim. Jim was really good at speeches. But here's the thing. Here's what everybody got to understand. Jim was a great NASA administrator. He was probably the best one since James Webb, or Michael Griffin. Mike Griffin was really good too, but not everybody remembers that. That was a little bit before space had this whole revitalization thing. Mike Griffin was the guy who got the space shuttle operating correctly after Columbia, got it operating safely, reliably, it finished the ISS, and started developing the Constellation program all at the same time. Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good. Bolden wasn't bad. It's just nobody ever gave him a goal, Bubble. Charlie Bolden's a good dude. He's a good dude. 4-time shuttle pilot in U.S. Marine. He's pretty friggin' good. NASA's going to give us at least a year off between some flights. Okay, yeah, you guys. Yep, all right, cool. Let's go and look for ourselves, huh? Okay, so, Sea Last from Lauren Grush. Oh, Doc, give me a second, Barrelicious. Let's check this out, okay? So, warm logo. I like it so far. Fiscal year 23 request. Invest in U.S. innovation leadership. All right, I don't want the PowerPoint slides. Show me the meat and potatoes, please. NASA's 2022 Strat Plan. Okay. Themes. Expand human knowledge. Okay, all right. Okay. Artemis. Human landings on the moon. Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Artemis 1 for spacecraft. Artemis 2, humans on the moon. Gateway begins science operations. No deadlines. That's good. Artemis 3 to 4, deep space habitat. Okay, still no deadlines. All right, that's good. Sustainable lunar architecture. First lunar surface expedition through Gateway. External robotic system added to Gateway. HLS demo is SpaceX. Yeah, that's cool. Sustainable operation. This is nothing we haven't seen before, guys. Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. This is the one you linked, right? Okay. Okay. I'm looking. So we have Artemis 1 with its 10 CubeSats, and then the Lunar Communications Network upgrade. That's cool. Good, good. The Reconnaissance Orbiter is scheduled through 2027. That's fine. Science Mission Directorate led Commercial Lunar Payload Services. Okay, we got 2 landings at the end of this year. There's the Capstone mission, preliminary nuclear thermal propulsion reactor design, and then Lofted, Lofted is the heat shield that Bill was talking about. No NASA launches in 2023. Yeah, we knew that. That's, yeah. More lunar communications upgrade. There's the Viper mission. Viper is a lunar prospecting rover. That's cool. It's Prime 1, 19C, and 20A. More CLIPS missions. CLIPS is Commercial Lunar Payload Services. They're basically scout rovers and scout science rovers, which are pretty cool. Artemis 2, crew flight test in 2024. So this was supposed to happen at the end of 2023. The shift to the right to 2024, and then the shift from 3 to the right for 2025. That's because of COVID, guys. NASA was and is still subject to federal guidelines, right? So, like federal CDC guidelines. So they had to shut that thing down for like 6 months. So everything, and I mean everything, shifted 6 months to the right. Whatever. I don't care. It's still there. It's really okay. Let's see. Artemis 2 crew flight test, demo. Okay, so in 2024, you have the first crew launch of SLS, and then you have Starship uncrewed lunar demo in 2024, and then you have the power and propulsion and habitation and logistics outpost launch in 2024. Lunar Trailblazer, Army's ready for integration. 2 more CLIPS landings. Okay, and then Artemis 3 they want the XEVA suits ready for integration by 2025. Okay. Can you post the link of the PDF? Sure, man. Okay. Then a lunar relay is going to be out there. Artemis Surface Science Instruments, Lunar ESA Lunar Pathfinder, and then we have more Eclipse missions. There's a lot of Lunar Payload Services missions. That's good. That's good. That's good. And then we're going to land on the moon and then nothing after. Yeah, see, this right here, these gaps right here are not ideal. Those gaps are going to be filled with a lot of starships landing, I'd imagine. More like horrific. Guys, I mean, about this isn't anything that we didn't know, guys. I don't... Look, it's not anything that we didn't know. Seriously, it's not. We knew this is... We knew this schedule looks pretty... like it hasn't changed very much. I've told everybody many different ways that you could ramp this up. This is way too spread out for research and development. In Balk, it's what we talked about when I talked to you about it in private messages. The costs and everything will go down, right? It'll start going down when development finishes. And development's going to finish for SLS. From the looks of things here, it's going to finish in 2026. So... I'm guessing that gap is going to be full of equipment improvements. So in 2027, they're going to roll out the Block 1B version with Mobile Launcher 2, which is good. And then the Mars Earth Return Orbiter, MSR Earth Return Orbiter, 2 more Lunar Payload Services missions. And then after 2027... Yeah, no, costing an MIE course in 10 years. Yeah, I know. That's why I've been literally calling for SLS to launch like 2 times a year for the last like 5 years, almost every stream. I know. Sorry, currently finishing for all mankind, so I might have unrealistic expectations. Yeah. And then Ispirit, and then the airlock, Deep Space Logistics. See, Deep Space Logistics is interesting. I don't know if that's Gateway Logistics Services or what. And then TBD Human Lander. Okay. Lunar Terrain Vehicle ready for surface operations. Artemis Surface Science. LTV Instruments. MSR. Should be telling that to NASA. Yeah. So there's not going to be permanent human presence on Gateway. It doesn't look like it, Thrawn, and I don't think that that's very sustainable in my own mind. Now, I said be careful about throwing sustainable around. It's not very sustainable because the whole point of the Artemis program is to... the whole point of the Artemis program is to go back to the moon sustainably. And not having people there 24/7 is a really good excuse to cancel that. The decision to have Gateway partially crewed is, I don't think, the right move. But once again, fellas, look, I could sit here, I could wax intellectual about it all day. You guys know. If you don't know, I can teach you. I can teach you what's wrong here. I can point out the flaws in this, but it's easy to point out flaws. It's really hard to come up with solutions, apparently. So... long story short, fellas, is that, look, SLS is not the best architecture because of the circumstances in which it was made, canceling Constellation. It's not the best architecture in that regard. However, it's better than nothing, and we almost had nothing. It might be... if Starship is what Elon hypes it up to be, we could see SpaceX occupying Gateway until they're ready for Mars. Yeah, maybe. It's also to learn how to be sustainable. Maybe we find that Artemis's architecture isn't the best way to do it. Well, Ren, I've noticed a couple of things in this architecture. To be determined human landers, deep space logistics. It's all very vague in this timeline. And that could be for flexibility. It could be for flexibility. I don't see any deep space missions that require SLS to launch. Right now, I think SLS is in danger of going the same way as Saturn. Nah, I can say with pretty damn good confidence, God, that's not going to happen. If that did happen, I would blow a gasket. Not because I think SLS is the best rocket ever to fly. Arguably, Saturn V is better. Well, not arguably, it is. You know why? The Saturn V actually did something. They... blow a gasket. I'll lose my mind. I'll freak the frick out. We should... A lesson to be learned from the Saturn V is that it's not to cancel the thing once it's operational. That's a bad idea. You don't cancel rockets that fly. That's a really, 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 really bad idea. Every time that's happened, we've ended up with trended less capability, and our NASA's trend for capability has been going down since 1972. We have the ability to go into low Earth orbit during the Mercury, go into space in the Mercury program, and then in the Gemini program, low Earth orbit. That's trending upwards because the programs overlap. Then in 1969, we went to the moon. So Mercury to Gemini to Apollo, they bridged off of each other, right? And then we decided it was too expensive, which is stupid. It's not. Some people decide to play Rule 8 football with NASA, which is great. Then we got the shuttle after that. So we went from being able to get to the moon to just low Earth orbit. And then we tried to fix it with another Apollo program with Constellation. 30 years later, and they pulled the unsustainable card, just like they're doing now. The critics pulled the unsustainable card, just like they're doing now, and canceled Constellation. We lost a shuttle, and then now NASA can't launch people into space without commercial partners' help. So it's been a downward trend. So canceling it is not a good idea. I don't think that canceling it is bad. NASA, especially since NASA's on the verge of being able to have launch capability again in-house. What I've always said is, and this is the point that I'm getting at with all that being intentionally vague in the schedule, you could ramp it up. You could ramp up. I still think that. I really do. Honestly, they could ramp it up. Sure, why not? Why couldn't they? What's the bottleneck? I think they should ramp it up. Personally, if it was me right now, I'd be putting in the legislation for that mobile launcher, for ML2, and Block 1B right now. That would be the way to do this right now. And honestly, I would be also ramping up sustainable lunar development. The SLD program I like. SLD and HLS are good ideas. But yeah, Spaceman, at the end of the day, it's down to Congress. It's down to Congress, fellas. So, once again, I'll say this once, I'll say it again. Look, SLS isn't the best, and these deadlines suck. They're terrible. They're like, not to be like a super critic of SLS, but you should be able to criticize the thing that you like. If you can't criticize something that you agree with, then I don't think you're looking at it fair. The reality of the situation is that SLS has been on the books since 2013 and has literally done nothing in terms of flying into space, because they trickled the budget for it. Trickled, not triple. The budget has been a slow IV drip of funding, and that slows things down. It's almost like if you want to buy a car, right? If you're gonna go to the car dealership and buy a car, you don't buy the tires. Oh, I'm gonna buy the tires. I'm gonna buy the tires right now, and then I'll buy the engine later, and then the steering wheel, and then the seats. That's literally how they're doing this. I'm gonna buy the seats, and then I'm gonna buy the windows, and then I'm going to buy the windshield wipers, and then I'm going to buy the trunk, and then I'm going to buy the taillights. They didn't just buy the whole car at once and then pay for it later. Or, well, they have to. Yeah, they got to do it that way. So SLS is like my summer car. Yeah, it is. No. You don't go into a dealership and say, hey, I want to buy the tires off of this Ferrari. They'd be like, get the freak out of here. You want to buy the tires. You can't afford the tires. If you're just asking for the tires, you can't afford the car. Get out of here. So, there is scalability built into this. But yeah, it doesn't... This is more of a baseline schedule, and it's not bad, but it's not good, but it also is better than nothing. Instead of letting the ISS fall into the ocean, could it be just pushed off onto the moon orbit for future emergency use or something? Long Eye, here's the thing. Anything is possible within the practical realm of physics, okay? So space is physics at its purest, going up into space, because there's no gravity. You don't have an external force acting on you because of speed and other. You do. I mean, you do at all times, but like in space, like object in motion stays in motion, object at rest stays at rest. So what does that mean? Could we move the ISS to the moon? Sure, absolutely. Would it be complicated? Oh yeah, very complicated. It wouldn't just be like pushing it in one shot. Can't just maneuver the whole thing out there. Once again, the physics don't really... The ISS isn't really designed to do that. Think of the ISS as like a big blimp. Blimps go slow and they just kind of float there. Think about, in order to take that blimp, right? Say we want to take the blimp and make it go faster than the speed of sound. So we want to turn a blimp into a Concorde. Would that be difficult? Yes. Could we do it? Probably. Humans are smart. We could figure that out. Why not just build a Concorde from the beginning, though? Why not just build an airplane? Right? The ISS is not really designed to do stuff like that. It would be like trying to turn an oil rig into a cruise ship to go places. The ISS is really... It has engines and it has a service module. Those are the Russian modules on the back. But that's really designed for just maneuvering around in low Earth orbit. It doesn't go very far. So we could do it, sure, absolutely. But the reason why I don't think we would is because the complications from that. It's a really complicated thing. It's easier to just build a new station. Now, do I agree with that? No. What do I think we should do? I think NASA should pay SpaceX to go get that thing with Starship and bring it back down. Because I think those modules, if we sent those modules out to the moon, for instance, right? Or we put it in a higher orbit up, like a hibernation orbit or in low Earth orbit or something. Those modules aren't doing anything. But if we use something like Starship to go and get them and bring them back, those modules could be used for research. We could research the long-term effects of something being in space. I think that's super useful science, and that could really help us when we're going to build something like Gateway or a moon base or a ship that goes out to Mars. I think that would be really useful. In fact, if I was Bill right now, I'd be going and knocking on Elon's door. If I was NASA right now, I'd be like, hey, you want to bring down some of those modules? What's Elon going to say? Yes, pay me and I will. Okay. If you want more bad news, go to page 13. Actually, this isn't bad news. It's not bad news. It's not good news either. It's just news. So, could we move the ISS out to the moon? Yeah, sure. Sure, why not? We're humans. We put people on the moon. Of course we can. You'd need a big rocket to do it, though. And the ISS really isn't designed to be pushed like that. Like I said, turning an oil rig into a cruise ship. You should just build the cruise ship from the beginning, right? It'd be better to just bring the modules back down. I really don't agree with disposing of the station. I think that's stupid, especially since Starship is definitely on the books, on NASA's books, and you have a fully reusable transportation system with down mass capability. So what's down mass capability? You can bring down mass from space back down to Earth. The shuttle had down mass capability. SpaceX's Dragon has down mass capability. Dream Chaser will have down mass capability. Starship has down mass capability. You are literally paying a guy to develop a vehicle that has down mass capability, and you want to still deorbit the ISS. I don't think that's a good idea. I think the flip and burn will damage stuff. What? Why? What do you mean? I think the flip and burn is no problem, Ren. You know why? Look at this picture. Look at where Starship is pivoting. It's pivoting around the payload bay because it has a low center of mass. When it does that flip, it's pivoting right here. It pivots around the payload. Shouldn't be any different than putting the thing on a jig and like an integration crane. Shouldn't be any less violent than that. Seriously. It's actually really smart. That's why Starship has down mass capability. You could put 100 tons of something up there and it wouldn't change how it flies because you're pivoting around it. Because of all the it's not that the center of mass is low on Starship. I didn't say that right. It's that the moment of inertia, the engines and the fuel tanks and the fuel can swing that thing around with the flaperons. And you can use that moment to pivot around the center of mass of the payload or the center of gravity of the payload. Shouldn't affect them at all. What's more cost efficient? I don't know, Phil. I don't know what's more cost efficient, dude. And that's the honest answer. And I don't think NASA knows that either. Because if they knew that, they'd have a crystal ball. You know what I mean? That'd be terrifying as a passenger. Okay. Put the seats on a gyroscope. You guys got to remember, NASA's... How much is stuff going to cost? How much is stuff going to cost? How much is stuff going to cost? Everybody asks that question all the time, and they've been asking it since the Apollo program. Or since the Apollo program got canceled. How much is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost? Well, they don't know. You don't know how much it's going to cost until you do it. You can get a good idea. You can get a good idea, but you're never going to get the exact amount. What if you buy a car, right? You buy a brand new car. Yeah, okay, so you have the sticker price, right? Okay, how much do you drive the car? What's the gas price? What's the price of gas? You know, is this a high performance car? Does it need more maintenance? Is it a hybrid? Is it more complicated? Is it an electric car? Then you need a subscription service. There's all these little things, and that's just cars. These are rockets. They're infinitely more complicated. There's all these little costs and stuff that add up. I hate it when people say this isn't sustainable. That's just excuses. That's an excuse for, I don't know what it's an excuse for. I don't know why people would say that. NASA's equity, NASA's profit is science, scientific profit. It's in the name. So did you catch the Oscars? No. Why the hell would I watch that? I was reading about steam locomotives last night, RB. I was reading about steam locomotives and how they work so I can be a better teacher at it for when we play railroads tomorrow morning. Comparing government spending to personal spending is a bad example. Bingo, Taco, because you're not it's hard to compare. By that logic, I think that's frankly a stupid argument to make, because if you say that SLS is unsustainable, everything is unsustainable because NASA doesn't make money. You could say that all this climate science is unsustainable. Is it? I don't think so. Do you? Dude, I want more monitoring. I want more climate monitoring satellites. This is what bothers me. They talk to people at Goddard, right? And they were talking about flood damage, climate change, blah, blah. And that's all fine and dandy. I don't have a problem with that. That's barking up the wrong tree, like this dichotomy, there's like a false dichotomy that science and human exploration are at odds with each other. It's not. They work with each other. But something at the end of the day, and this is what I don't understand, why NASA won't say this. All those weather satellites and all these climate monitoring satellites, well actually, I said it. All they're weather satellites. They're weather satellites for like flood prediction and agriculture and, meteorology. That meteorological service that NASA provides with their satellites, them working with the NOAA, NOAA, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, provide the meteorological reports for, oh, I don't know, airports so planes can fly correctly. There's that guy that you watch on the morning news every day that's like, it's going to be sunny right here, I think, and then we're going to have storms pushing up. What do you think he gets that data from? Where do you think he gets that from? Why don't they talk about that? Just say that. That's something that everyone can understand. You know, is it sustainable? No, but there are benefits in other places. So you didn't see Will Smith slap Chris Rock. RB, everything that I know about celebrities is information that I didn't seek out. Think about that for a second. What's happening with NASA? Chem, it's not great. It's not great, not terrible. Yeah, good thing it got old already. I didn't really want to know anything about the Oscars, but man, I ended up knowing. Whether I didn't really have a choice in that matter. I was trying to look for space news last night about whatever, and I was looking for information about steam locomotives, and I ended up learning about what happened at the Oscars. Do I care? No, I don't. Artemis 4 is pushed back to 2027. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, this schedule isn't great. It isn't terrible. It's not good. It's not bad. Your blissful ignorance was rudely interrupted. Blissful ignorance of celebrities getting angry at words. Yeah. If that's ignorance, I'll take that. Thank you. I see only 2 starships. Yeah, this is Chem. It's not great. It's not terrible. All was staged. Yeah, farm. See, here we go. I guys, let it go. Be like Frozen. Like, I don't care. I don't care what Will Smith said. I don't care what Chris Rock said. I don't care about the Oscars. Okay? I don't care. This is a space stream. I don't care. I don't care. Did you watch the Heist 10 level videos? I did. Actually, I was watching the what did I watch last night? The tech tree that they have, the development roadmap for future locomotives. Really, really cool stuff. Can I get a link to that NASA doc pretty please? Sure, man. There's no way that SpaceX only does 2 landers though, right? No, this is outdated. This is outdated. SpaceX is doing 2 crew landings, and that's on the books. Keep in mind, fellas, this is a budget request. This is why you don't get outraged at this. You don't get mad at it. It's a request. It's a request. Guys, you know what Congress is going to do? Seriously, like, okay, I know this is hard to say. And I'm not one to not want to stick it to the man whenever you can, right? Congress is actually on your side with SLS. Remember that. The Congress is going to look at this and go, "No, this is not good enough. We need to launch more." I guarantee you that that's going to happen. This is a executive budget request. This is not the integrated schedule. This is not IMS. This is not the integrated master schedule. It's even wrong by NASA standards because there's 2 crew landings for Starship. Gonna need a source for the 2 crew landings thing. SpaceX on Twitter, unless I didn't understand that right. What are you talking about? Why would Congress want more? Because they don't. I'll tell you in a second. I think the gaps are wide enough for Congress to clearly see where more could fit. Yeah, scary. Look, I don't like, just like celebrities, I don't like that I have to learn stuff about political science. You should understand your civics, especially if you're American. You should understand how this works. Also, Thomas, right there. The announcement direct from NASA about that was SpaceX has the option to modify their lander to get more landings and we're actually given another mission. NASA has elected SpaceX for an additional mission to the moon with astronauts as part of the Artemis program. That literally contradicts exactly what you just said. And that's a tweet from SpaceX. Proper. So, something's getting lost here. Because the more we launch the rockets, the more we need more constituents to make more money. Ren, okay, everybody calls NASA a gravy train, right? Everybody calls it that. It's just a gravy train. It's just to keep jobs in your district, blah, blah, blah. Well, first and foremost, yeah, of course, duh. Of course politicians want to keep people that make more money in their congressional district. More good jobs in your congressional district is quite literally why Congress is there. Politicians actually doing their job for a change? I know. Crazy thought in 2022. Ren, I said this 5 years ago. I said this in 2017 was 5 years. I said this 5 years ago. Politicians fighting for more NASA jobs in their district is quite literally what they're there to do. That's what we want them to do. Like, everybody says, oh, Congress should do this, Congress should do that. That's literally, that is the system working correctly. That's what we want, right? As taxpayers? Am I wrong? Like, am I getting that wrong? I don't know. The Apollo program was just a jobs program. Well, Jax, it was. It was just a jobs program. You know the difference between this and the Apollo missions, though, is that we had a goal and a deadline. That's the problem. That's the problem with this whole thing. There's no goal. That's why 2024 was so important. That's why I told you guys, like, what Jim was doing was legendary, because that dude, he got us a 2025 moon landing by committing to that goal. I mean, Bill rescinded the goal because he called it unsustainable, which was dumb, but there's a goal, just no deadline. Bingo. A lot of government programs are jobs programs without an outcome. If people want to go down the jobs program route, at least we're getting one heck of a scientific and exploration return. Exactly, Jake. Look, I doesn't care about 2024 so much. You know what, Kentab? So what? If he's hands off and he's letting Bill do his job, I don't have a problem with that. Do you? Do you have a problem with that? I don't have a problem with that. That was the problem with Constellation too, right? With no deadline, you procrastinate and never reach it. Bingo. Obsidian, yeah, exactly. Without a good deadline for your goal, NASA's goal is fine. Sustainable lunar exploration, that's totally good. You have to have a goal for that. Without any goal, you're just giving these guys permission to ride the damn gravy train and do nothing. And you know whose fault that is? NASA. That's NASA, and, well, not necessarily NASA. It's NASA, and that's the executive branch's fault. It was the executive branch's fault 5 years ago. It's the executive branch's fault now. You got to hold these people. You got to hold their feet to the fire. That's your job. I could have sworn that NASA said something differently in the teleconference they had about it. Guess I heard wrong. My bad. No problem, Thomas. Yeah, it's all good, man. And but see, that facilitates. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is just a request. Let's steer us back. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is just a request. You guys got to remember. Look, they're asking for $2 billion more money, more. All right, and I highly doubt that all of that is just going to go to the science mission director. It's probably not. But you got to remember, there's a hefty amount of science mission directorate-led missions in here, and I'm cool with that. That's fine. If they want to launch more stuff to the moon, more commercial. Look at all these commercial landers in here. In 2026, even though NASA's not launching anything, they're going 4 times, at least. Look at some of this stuff. ISRU subscale demo, ISRU pilot excavator. They're sending mining equipment to the moon for commercial lunar payload services. Solar arrays, vertical solar array technology, fuel cell tech, wireless charging on the lunar surface. Lunar surface scaled construction demo, so HAB modules. That's what the CLIPS program is going to do, guys. We ain't going to the moon once. We're only going to the moon once every year, starting in 2027 with people. This is huge down here. Everything from here, from the Science Mission Directorate down, is great. This is perfect. I really like all of this. This is excellent. This is excellent science. There's just some discrepancies here and here that we need to button up. But once again, this is just a request. My theory, this is my theory, okay? This is EJ talking now, okay? My theory is that Congress is going to look at this and say exactly what we're saying. It's not good enough. But I could be wrong. Who knows? The moon will be getting more traffic than the ISS soon. Yep. No, they do, Kettle. That's the thing. I know this is an extremely hard thing for people to wrap their minds about it. They do give a frick about this. You know why? Because NASA pays. It's money. NASA's money. That's money. If the guy that has Stennis in his congressional district is going to fight tooth and nail for Stennis, the guy that has Kennedy in his congressional district or her is going to fight tooth and nail to keep Kennedy Space Center there. Same with Johnson. Same with Michoud. Same with Louisiana. Same with the Huntsville. So same with Marshall. Same with Goddard. Same with Armstrong. Same with Ames. All of them. They'll fight tooth and nail for it. They'll fight tooth and nail for more. Like, once again, NASA is one of those weird scenarios where the system is actually working correctly. The only thing we're really missing is some accountability, some deadlines. The system is working as intended, as far as I'm concerned. I think the problem is that we don't have a good deadline. We need a good deadline. I'm constantly surprised how nobody seems to actually know Artemis even exists. Yeah, well, they'll know it exists when the rocket launches. Laz, my other thing about NASA is that Bill was talking about outreach, talking about, all the Apollo generation and how many scientists and engineers it created. Do you know why? Because they weren't making comic books. They were launching people to the moon. That's why it made scientists and engineers. You could sit here and pretend like a comic book is going to get a kid interested in spaceflight in 2022, or you can go to the moon. But, honestly, it's not mutually exclusive. You can do both of those things. The thing is, you have to do both of those things. You can't just make comic books and then not go to the moon, because no one gives a frick if you do. I lived in the same district as Langley. My rep fights hard to get them all stuff all the time. Jake, this is the system working for us. My guess is that they're going to look at this and they're going to say this is not substantial enough. That's my guess. But that could be Bill playing games, which he's good at. Bill is a politician, remember. He's a career politician. He's damn good at getting stuff done. The guy parried his way as a politician onto the space shuttle, okay? He's pretty damn good at this. And he's a terrible orator, though. The guy can't speak straight. It's kind of funny, actually. No, he's all right. Dude, Sustainable Lunar Development, the SLD program, is great. That's really good. It's really good stuff. All right, Rocky, what are you saying? Subjectively, and to that point, I would like to know if there's a precedent for Congress giving more to NASA than requested. The 2021-2022 budget technically gave more to one area, Block 1B, but that took away from other areas. I don't know if Congress can remain objective when looking at the request like this and think logically. Yeah, maybe. The comic book works better if you could say true story anyway. Yeah, Bill pushed a guy from the flight and it ended up on STS-51L. Oof. Hey, being good at being a politician, Thomas, doesn't mean you're a good person, remember? I'm just kidding. No, politicians are bad. Seriously, I don't like sitting here and just bashing politicians all day. That's the easy thing to do. I don't like doing things that the easy way never works. The easy way that never works. Me sitting here and saying, "Oh, I hate the government," blah blah blah. Yeah, that's the easy thing to say. All right, you don't like it, fix it. The flight controllers at NASA during Apollo 13, when the spacecraft blew up on the way out to the moon, they didn't just say, "Oh my God, the spacecraft exploded. We should do something about this." No, they went and fixed it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you like that would be an easy thing to do either. Things that are worth doing are usually difficult. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. 27 months from Spartan, Congress, and think logically in one sentence. It works with the space program, dude, believe it or not. No, they are all liars. Yeah, see, Andrew, you're doing exactly what I'm telling you. What I'm saying is not a good thing. You could sit there and say that. Can you say that with reasonable conviction? Look, we could sit here and whine about it, or you could do something about it. That's not my ballpark. I don't know about you guys. Anybody can point out a problem. You can go on Twitter and see 1,000 million people pointing out 1,000 million problems. Who's doing anything to fix it? We sit here and pretend like us whining about a problem like it's customer service or something, like politicians are, like gonna listen to that. No, you could go fix it yourself. That's what I like doing. But anyway, let's keep going. 13 is what you wanted me to see, huh? Okay. I mean, Andrew, do something about it. You don't like it. Like, dude, look, I went through the whole cycle, of, oh my gosh, these people are stupid. Oh my gosh, these people are stupid. You know something I realized? Every time somebody says something about politics, or there's an article about politics, you're reading something about politics, this is what I noticed. And once again, I'm noticing this because I sometimes have to dive into political silence to understand what NASA's doing, right? That's my only reason to do it. I really don't like it otherwise, right? Every time there's something about politics that's written that's designed to piss you off, okay? That's designed to elicit a response. Okay. That's bait. It's freaking bait. Every freaking time, on both sides, all the time. It's bait. It's bait to get you to think a certain way. Be careful with that. We shouldn't go right to outrage when it comes to this stuff. That's the response that children have to stimuli. Kids go over the top and they cry about things. Look, be careful with that, because that's pointing out problems. That means, like, articles are written. I noticed this. Articles are written. It's not just politics. It's just as politics. Articles everywhere. It's everywhere about everything. You can't read an article. You can't read an article about anything. Any periodical that comes out today, you can't read it without somebody trying to do a whataboutism thing in it to piss you off. Don't let it piss you off. Because all that's going to do is get you into a self-defeating cycle where you're just sitting there pointing out problems. Because the way the article is presented to you is like, look it, you should be upset about this, but we're going to fix it. Every freaking time, dude. Every time. Be careful with that. Or they suddenly slap someone in the face. Dude, boom, I said it once, I'll say it again. Everything that I know about the Oscars from last night is information that was presented to me unsolicited. I don't care what happens at the Oscars, but Twitter and everything else, the news, everybody sure made sure that I knew what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys got to be careful with that stuff. Guys, I already see it on Twitter. Like, look, you guys have linked Twitter posts here. You guys have linked Twitter posts about journalists saying, oh, the flight schedule is woefully inadequate. This is just a budget request, fellas. What are your thoughts on it? Nothing. Liam, I don't care. I don't care. Like, this does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. What is the budget request bottom line? Let's take a look. $25.9 total. So we have a $600 million increase to deep space exploration systems. Artemis campaign development, $6 million increase. No getting Jebaited here, only getting Jebediah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Think for yourselves nowadays. All the information serves it. Yeah. Bingo, boom. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't look at the guys. Don't look at this. This isn't gospel. This is not gospel. This is a budget request. And people are trying to goad you into thinking that the Artemis program is woefully inadequate. These are the same people that call it unsustainable. Don't listen to that crap. Don't fall for it. And I'm not trying to be like some crazy conspiracy nut either. The SLS program is inadequate because of the IV drip of development funding. We've read about this. I actually kind of agree with people saying that the schedule is inadequate. I'm super pro SLS and I still think it's inadequate. It's not good enough. It needs to be. You need to do this more to make this really sustainable, right? And to do that, you need to get the chunk of your development, a good chunk of your development, done at the beginning. We know that. And those aren't my words. That's NASA's words. They literally have a systems book on how to run space programs correctly, and they never adhere to it. You look at what we found out about the Europa Clipper program. Everyone said the Europa Clipper program was bad because of SRB oscillations and torsional loads. The reality of that situation is that the program was such a cluster that NASA didn't even get to deliver the torsional load and SRB analysis on Europa Clipper because the program was so far behind. It's not that SLS has SRB or vibrational problems. It's that the Europa Clipper program sucked that bad that they missed the deadline to turn it in. You could go to the GAO report and read it for yourselves. That's what I mean. There are journalists out there that are saying, Europa Clipper wasn't designed to fly on SLS, even though it was designed to fly on SLS. No, that's wrong. That is wrong. They can't adhere to it because they never have the funding to. Okay, scale appropriately then. Now that is interesting. There's actually no increase in funding. Taking average expected inflation, that $1.9 billion increase matches the exact average inflation number. I was afraid of that, Rocket Guy. That book is public resource. NASA Systems Engineering Handbook. You can download a PDF of it right now for free. Now Thomas has the link. It's a great book. Guys, I've been reading, you know what? I'll use that as a thing. I've been reading that book for a very good reason. Pretty good time as ever to show you. I've been reading that book like gospel for a reason. I have it right next to my notebook. That's all he has. Nice try. Nice try. You're making the Aerojet Regional Scale Environment Survey? Nope. No, Ares is my own name. Still got my favorite page in that. Or another notebook? Wait, what, Eric? No, that's another notebook. Oh, I'm developing some new stuff. Don't worry. You'll like it. It's more sustainable than this. But once again, fellas, this is a budget request, so don't get freaked out about it. Congress is most likely going to look at this and say, no. Is this the first time we're seeing real goals for Artemis? No. The 2017 Transitional Authorization Act and primarily Space Policy Directive 3 established the Artemis program in 2017 with goals to go back to the moon. That was the first goal we had, and they rescinded that and said, supply chains and COVID. And then they pushed it back. This is starting to look like, this is This tentative schedule looks more like what the Artemis program looked like before it was called Artemis, but it is what it is. Yeah, Ian, once again, it's a budget request. Look, the HLS program was a pretty good example of when NASA gets underfunded, what they do is they submit something that's woefully inadequate to Congress, and Congress gets freaked out and goes, no, you can't do that. You can't just have one lander. No, you got to have 2 landers. Here's the money for it. We got you. See what I mean? Don't fall for this crap. All right, let's see. Let me go back down here. So SLS was also supposed to go to an asteroid at some point. Yeah. If anybody thought at any point that the asteroid redirect mission that was actually going to happen, I feel really, really bad for you. Anyone know what inadequate means? Not good enough. Can we still do the asteroid thing? Yeah, of course. All right, thanks. Yeah, no problem, Liam. The asteroid redirect mission that they rolled out in 2014 was, once again, it wasn't their own idea. There were talks for an asteroid redirect mission as a constellation applications program mission. Yeah, they explored the possibility of it using Ares 5 and Ares 1 with the Earth departure stage for asteroid redirect, but that was subsequent to the moon, meaning that was something that they were going to do after they went back to the moon. Let's be real, the moon's a little bit easier of a rock to land on than an asteroid. That's why they were going to do it after. When Constellation got canceled, they cherry-picked that off the corpse of Constellation and said, yeah, let's do this instead. Okay. The asteroid redirect did get us some good new KSP content. That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Sordin, it's possible, yeah. It concerns me that NASA is mentioned within SID Today leaks. I don't know what that means. Yeah, why would we go to the moon? We've been there already. Hellfish wasn't his fault. It was the people that it was the people that he listened to. Yeah. Yeah. Ask anyone that works in the industry, man. You know, guy gave people the benefit of the doubt, and people, they whispered sweet nothings in his ear, and yeah, and he listened to him. Oh well. Now I suppose they're using DART for the science data on asteroids. Well, man, see, here's the thing, all right? Look, there's nothing wrong with being skeptical, I suppose. But if Bill came out today, just hypothetically, this is real hypothetical now. If he came out today and said, we're going to go to Jupiter tomorrow, like in the next 10 years, I'd be like, no, you're not. Who are you trying to fool? You can't even get to the moon. Why do you think you can get people to Jupiter? You can't even get to the moon. The moon is right there. Jupiter is a bajillion miles away. You can't get people there. No way. In 2014, they rolled out with the asteroid redirect mission. Oh, we're going to go to an asteroid. Why do you think you can get to an asteroid when you don't even have a rocket to get to the moon? You can't even launch people into space. That's what I mean about the asteroid redirect mission. Like, what? You can't even send people to the moon. You can't send people to the moon. You're going to go to an asteroid? You try to do that, you're going to get somebody killed. you have to manage. You have to do this in steps. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a good way to do it. A good way to do it would be to start an asteroid redirect program. But the thing is that would have to be an applicative? It would have to be an applications program to another vehicle. So you have a rocket that can get to the moon, okay? A rocket that can get to the moon or put people down on the surface of the moon, like SLS or Ares 5 or Saturn 5 or whatever. Those rockets have enough delta V to get to the moon. If you have enough delta V to get to the moon, you have enough delta V to go to an asteroid. Your rocket is literally big enough to go somewhere into deep space, okay? The moon is a little bit of a bigger rock than an asteroid. Bigger rocks are a little bit easy, well, not necessarily. They're a little bit easier to land on. So the type of operations that you'd need to get someone to the surface of the moon could prepare you well for an asteroid mission. Simultaneously, we have, first and foremost, you'd need to get to the moon, right? That's really important. You need to demonstrate that you can land on something other than Earth. While you're doing that, I would send satellites out to asteroids to survey the asteroids, like DART, like Psyche. Those are great missions. And those are missions that came out of the original asteroid redirect program, which is funny, but that thought I digress. Those are good missions, sure. Okay, you're doing that while you're going back to the moon. Great. So maybe we'll do an asteroid redirect in the next 10, 15 years. That would be realistic. You have to approach this in steps. For instance, we can't go to Mars without going to the moon. All right? There's no way. There's no way that's going to happen. The reason is because, so Mars is theoretically easier to live on than the moon, right? The problem is that Mars is really far away and it only comes near Earth every 26 months. All right? The moon, while harder to live on than Mars, is right there. We can literally go there anytime because it's orbiting around Earth, right? You can go there anytime. So while it's harder to live on, right? If you can prove that you can live sustainably on the moon, then that means humans can survive in the long term in deep space. That's what Gateway is about. That's what Gateway's trying to do, right? You don't do all that. You can't go to Mars unless you do all this stuff, right? You have to kind of approach it in steps. You can't just skip to step 10 and say, we're going to go to Mars. No, that's not a good idea. You need to approach this in steps. If you skip a step, right, and you try to just go for the whole shebang, you're going to have some really bad problems. Programs will get delayed, and inevitably you're going to give it bait to get canceled. Look at Mobile Tower 2. All right, let me see. Yeah, Jim, my whole thing with NASA is basically since Constellation got canceled, NASA is fragmented. It's all fragmented. It's like a fragmented drive. There's no uniformity. There's no unifying mission. And once again, that's why I like Jim so much, because he was trying to pull it back in that direction. Everything is just kind of all over the place. NASA's just doing 1,000 different things. And if you go and ask, someone that works at NASA, they can't tell you all the different stuff. You know what I mean? There's no unifying thing. I would only change EJ's statement plan to state that landing on the moon wouldn't actually be required, since that vehicle and environment would not be reflective of an asteroid mission dynamics. So yes, sending reflective missions to lunar orbit and performing maneuvers with a target vehicle there, and more importantly to study the long-term habitation in space, is key. The moon is all perfect for that. Yeah, there you go. I mean, rocket guy, but if you're there, you might as well land. If you can operate a closed-loop habitation system on the moon, or at least partially open loop habitation system that drills for ice. Well, we know there's ice on Mars. We know there's ice on Mars. We know there's ice on the moon. So the moon would actually be harder because there's less stuff, right? Several units competing for different resources rather than one project. Yeah, what my bad. Everybody says that, right? Once again, pointing out a problem. Okay, what's your solution? Have the programs work together. Weave the programs together like a quilt so it can't be canceled. That's literally what they did with SLS. You could do that across the Science Mission and Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate. You can do that. That's what they did during the Apollo program. The Science Mission Directorate worked for HEOMD, worked for human exploration. Science missions paved the way for landing missions. And then landing missions gave the science missions more science, and they fed into each other. How did Jim want to pull everything to be uniform in NASA? Deadlines. Deadlines, a commitment, accountability, RJ. He was trying to get SLS Block 1B on the books. He was trying to get an SLS Block 1 cargo variant going, and everybody fought him at every single corner. It's really annoying. I just want to find out how is actively building a space habitat so that I can beg them to hire me. Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, enables the goal landings. It's already happened, Solar. You missed it. We're discussing the budget request. The state of NASA was basically outlining the president's budget request to Congress for fiscal year 2023. Other than that, it was just basically NASA telling people how awesome of a place NASA is to work, which is like borderline condescending in my mind, but hey, whatever. It's kind of strange, don't you think? Like, why would you cite that statistic? I don't sit here and say what an awesome job streaming is. Like, oh man, you know, working at the EJSA has 100% employee satisfaction. Yeah, think about that. Like, that's kind of strange, don't you think? Yeah, we still need that rocket. Your rocket, Europa Clipper, and Block 1B were uniform. Yeah, that was... you know who came up with that? You know who came up with the idea of launching Europa Clipper on SLS and giving SLS a reason to fly more? Politician. John Culbertson. He lost his midterm election in 2018, and then the person that replaced him doesn't care about Europa Clipper. So, the program got fragmented, and it got so far behind because he was the one championing that program that they said NASA basically put a bow on it and said launch it on Falcon Heavy, and it's going to end up costing us billions of dollars because it's built on a crappy foundation. Attracting talent. Yeah, Brimo, that's all fine and dandy. The thing about that is that there's another spaceflight entity that's attracting all of the talent because they actually get stuff done. That's the problem with that. Look, comic books are all fine and dandy. Outreach is all fine and dandy for NASA. You want to do that? That's fine. You know how you get people involved with science? Launching rockets. You know, you get people involved to want to be an engineer, to want to be a rocket scientist, a rocket engineer, a climate scientist. Launching things. Launching things. Like, you could sit there and tell everybody how awesome of a place NASA is to work, or you can show people how awesome of a place it is by getting stuff done, by launching things into space. It's not just launching things, it's about being public about it. SpaceX is your dream company, Def Hacker? Yeah. SpaceX is amazing, man. But SpaceX wants the best. So if you're young, you need to go do good in school. You want to work at SpaceX? You want to work for Elon? You've got to do good in math. Got to do good in math and science. You have to. All right, let's go back into this. So, 2.5 billion for SLS to focus on successful completion of Artemis 2 and preparation required for Artemis 3 and 4, which includes the Block 1B configuration and upgrades. $1.93 billion for the Orion program to finalize assembling and testing the Artemis II crew vehicle and deliver the system to EGS at Kennedy. $750 million for exploration ground systems to develop the necessary ground systems, including Mobile Launcher 2, required for assembly, test, and launch of SLS and Orion. Okay. Y'all don't understand big organizations at times. No, I could give a frick what big organizations want, Bree, but I think it would be wrong to say that I don't understand how NASA works. What's with the stretched picture of Starship? What's that about? Okay. Wide Starship. Bump 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 bump. Can we still make wide jokes? Or is that frowned upon? I don't even know anymore. I don't know. Can we, I mean, chat. Nobody's yelled at me yet, so I guess we can. Well, maybe less than they used to. Makes fun of him, so I say yes. Okay. Yeah, I know, Boxy. Can we even do that anymore? I don't know. Okay, so fiscal year 2023, $1.48 million for the Human Landing System program to develop and deploy multiple landing systems that will transport. $779 million for gateway development to support human landing system surface activities. $276 million for XEVA and human surface mobility programs. $60 million for advanced centers. Okay. Nice, rocket guy. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, once again, fellas, don't get freaked out. It's a budget request, remember. They're lowballing, I think, Rocket Guy. They're lowballing to get Congress to be like, no, that's not enough. And then, at least I think that's what's going on. Yeah, these numbers are not, it's not good enough. Yeah. Once again, don't get freaked out by them, guys. Don't get freaked out. It's not a big deal. It's just a budget request. This isn't gospel. You know what I mean? At least somebody in DC gives a frick about going back to the moon somewhere. So that's good. Better than nothing. We need more pudding. Yeah, .com. Yeah, games always. Barrack, it wouldn't be the first time. NASA did that with HLS. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure that they did. NASA purposely changed the nomenclature in the contract so you could fund missions yourself with personal funding for the HLS, and that caused SpaceX to bid something that they could actually afford. And then they awarded it to SpaceX, and everybody in Congress got mad because they didn't award it to 2 landers. And then that inadvertently got them the funding for a second lander, because the original HLS program called for 2 landers. NASA said, we're going to need $3 billion to get this done. Congress said, no, you get $250 million. So NASA changed the contracts. They played hardball with Congress, and it worked. For me, though, usually when it comes to contract negotiations for money, you always want to overstate so you meet in the middle. Yeah. But in the case of the HLS program, underbidding worked. So, who knows? Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't trying to say you don't know how NASA works. My point is that HR can't necessarily change how fast NASA is getting things done. But they can add a line to a PowerPoint that thousands of people might see. I don't understand why doing that is a bad thing, or why it means that NASA can't also be working on landing on the moon. Hey, yeah, Primo, I already said that. I said that right when we first started talking about this. I said, you know, it's kind of weird that they do that, but, I mean, it's not like we can't do both of those things. It's not like they can't do outreach with a comic book and launch people to the moon. The thing is, you got to do both of those things. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I also might be hangry. Yeah, but you acted like putting that on a PowerPoint. Yeah. No. See, no, I didn't. you didn't hear what I said, but it's fine. It's okay. We'll talk about it later. Space operations, commercial law, I thought 224. Yeah, none of these numbers. None of these numbers are really good enough, dudes. You don't even... Rocket Guy, what does footnote 4 state? The fiscal year 2023 President's budget request for NASA also includes authority to transfer funds in fiscal year 2023 from the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle to exploration operations for Orion production and operations up to $718 million, contingent on assessments following Artemis 1. Interesting. This is... Yeah, Rocket Guy, this is... Okay. Hey, Terry and Samantha. Cool. Two of my favorite astronauts. This is, wow. Those guys, freaking physical science has got the shaft. What about sustainably living in space, man? Like, okay. Aeronautics got a good increase right there, but yeah. Why is climate not its own division at this point? All this talk about making it a priority and it's still chained to the NASA's budget. Don't be careful with that one, dude. I told you, the reason why is because it works hand in hand. You need rockets to launch these things into space. No problem, Manatee. I'm getting pretty dang good at systems engineering and program funding, guys. That's the kind of stuff I really enjoy. Yeah, Rocket Guy, I think that's, I could keep going through this, and I'm reading the numbers. I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's honestly what I was wondering too. If we go back up to the actual summary here, these numbers are barely enough. In some cases, they're not enough to counter 8% inflation. That's not good. That's actually despite increasing NASA's budget by $2 billion because we printed all that COVID money. It devalued the dollar so much, so this is actually decreasing NASA's budget. Yeah, that's the same thing that happened in 2011 and 2012. So that's not even the climate change stuff. Yeah, even the earth sciences stuff. Dude, that's not enough. Climate change is never the biggest emergency. It's too late to do it cheaply. Well, throwing money at the problem is not going to fix it either, PBT, because... So how do we learn about climate change? And once again, don't get confused. I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. Like, I don't want anybody to sit here and think that for any particular point in time. But how... So what are you going to do? You're going to stare at the Earth harder? You're going to look at the Earth harder? You're gonna like... There's only so much you can do here, like with Earth sciences. Now, don't get me wrong. That also simultaneously doesn't mean that we can't do more, because what you learn by sitting there and observing Earth with climate satellites from space, you might learn something new. You might learn something new about how the Earth works, and that could make the need for other satellites down the road. But climate science is not something that you just throw money at. You know what I mean? It's observation. It's observational work. It's being scientific. You got to look at it. You got to sit there. You got to look at it. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to throw $1 billion at the Earth Science Directorate or the Science Mission Directorate for Earth Sciences," and hope that they'll solve climate change faster. That doesn't. It's not really how that works. You know. Ice King, rule it is my rule. So I don't mind discussing politics, dude, when it pertains to space, okay? What I don't want is people in here saying like, "Oh, I hate this president," or "Oh, I hate the last president," or "Oh, I hate this politician." That's counterintuitive and it doesn't solve any problems, and it just makes you look like an idiot. Like, it's more against useless political rhetoric. If we want to sit here and discuss policies, but only when it comes to NASA, I don't really know enough about anything else to really say yes or no. Like, if we wanted to discuss the defense budget, dude, that's out of my league. That's out of my league. I could probably guess, but don't guess unless you have to. No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong. Mom is right. So you're saying they need to try and expand our understanding or learn more about a specific issue rather than just launching climate satellites? No, RJ, that's not... What do you mean, so you're saying? No, you... What I'm saying is that you can't just increase their budget willy-nilly and then just say, "Oh, I'm going to throw more at Earth science." Okay? What are you going to do with it? It's just like... It's the same thing with SLS. You can't just give SLS more money without a plan. You have to have a plan of action. That's the point. What's the plan of action for Earth science? Earth sciences are climate monitoring satellites. Okay. That's like saying you have 1 or 2 scientific experiments and you need 30 microscopes for it. See what I'm talking about? What? Okay. Why do you need 30 microscopes to look at 2 petri dishes? The throwing money willy-nilly at the problem isn't going to fix it. You need a plan. Doing the math, over 1 year from 24.04 with 8% inflation comes out to 25.92. What does fiscal year 2023 ask? You don't want to know. Pretty much, illness. Yep. Yeah, that's not good, Rocket Guy. Yeah, that's not good. That's bad news, fellas. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's bad news. I'm going to go ahead and bet that that's the reason why there's so many gaps in here because, yeah. Yeah, fellas, like I said, not great, not terrible. But I don't mean to, like I said, easy to point out problems. It's easy to get pissed off about this. Yeah, this just looks like it's a placeholder just for inflation and stuff. That's not very good, man. When the figures were made, was the inflation rate expected to be so high? Well, the budget request would have been made over the last 4 months, Kentab, so yes. Yeah. At least it isn't a decrease in funding after last year's minor hike. Well, the problem is, Rocket Guys, that I'm looking at that and it's 25.973, but the funding goes down in certain areas. Let me take a look. Let me make sure that that's right. No, okay. Funding doesn't necessarily go down, but I guarantee you that some of the stuff in here. Okay, so a $200 million increase. So what's 8% of 4? What's 8% of 4 billion? That's actually defunding. That's defunding space operations. That's a budget decrease. There's no way that. Well, actually, is 200 million? Dude, I want to go down the list here. Let's go down the list and take a look. You know, let's use, and you know what? We'll give the benefit of the doubt to use 7% inflation, right? Like 6.7 times 0.7, right? 7%. No, I didn't do that right. Sorry. You guys do the math out. I'm not. My brain isn't in math mode today. Is that an 8% increase in funding? Yeah, it's 0.07. Sorry, man. Yeah, no, it's my day off, guys. I'm not in math mode today. Yeah, so 6.7 times 1.07. Okay, so there's an increase right there, right? And then 4 times 1.07. That's a decrease. Space operations gets a decrease in funding. See what I mean? Not by much. Not by much, but it still is. All right, let's try 1.1. Oh, let's go down here. What's this? Space technology and sciences. Okay. So that was last year's budget. This is this year's budget. You take into account inflation, right? So 1.1 times 1.07. So you got an increase there. Not by much, but you got a small increase to space technology, so that's expected. What about down here? Aeronautics? Let's take a look. Oh, come on. So this would be 0.8 times 1.07. Aeronautics got a little bit of an increase. That's cool. This is 0.1. Oop. So STEM got an increase. More comic books. That's good. 3.0 times 1.07. Oh. Yeah. What's that one for? Safety, security, and mission services. Okay. Construction and environmental. Yeah, that's okay. And then let's just look at the overall thing. So that's 24.04 times 1.07. Yeah, I guess an increase is good. An increase is better, I suppose, but yeah. An increase is an increase. Now you're calculating for inflation, yep. State of EJSA next. I do state of the stream usually in the first or second week of January, dude. Talk about what you guys want to see, etc., etc. Blue Origin is delayed due to forecasted weather, now set for Thursday. Neat. Hello EJ, why this stream title? Me scared because the executive branch, the president basically released their budget request to Congress for NASA. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. More Minecraft and Railroads Online, or EJ could go get stuff done that's not stream related because it's his day off. Yeah, .com, like, once again, fellas, it's just a budget request. I'm not really sure I particularly agree with this budget request. I think that lowballing Congress when you're requesting is an interesting way to do this, I suppose, but when is the next Falcon Heavy launch? USS F-44 is scheduled for June. Yeah. According to Trading Economics, it's important to note that the average inflation rate as of February was 7.5, not 7%, and forecasted to 8.2 by April. Maybe there will be a revised budget request. Rocket Guy, we gave the benefit of the doubt and we calculated the bare minimum forecast for inflation here, did we not? We calculated bare minimum forecast. Bare minimum forecast had one thing, increase on budget. Everything else is pretty much... So if inflation is at 7.5, or even if it goes up to 8, this is defunding NASA. This is not funding NASA. Yeah. How many bears is the minimum? 2 bear arms is the minimum. It's not even a whole bear. That was a joke. No? That's what they meant, right? You can go hunt a bear and then take its arms. You have the right to bear arms. Yeah, that's what... No? That's not what that means? 2 grizzlies and a polar... No, it can't be the polar bears. They're going to go extinct. Can't be polar bears. It has to be regular bears. You tell it's an EJ joke because it's not funny. I got a smirk. Don't lie. Well, Thomas, you don't live in the U.S., so yeah, you have to return your bear arms. You want fries with that? No, sorry. Jokes aside, you shouldn't joke about that one. But, no, that means you have the right to arm bears. Why would I want to do that? Bears are scary enough, dude. I don't want a bear with an assault rifle. That just seems scary. I don't want that at all. I want the Daka Daka. To make hunting more interesting. Truly the most dangerous game. No. Bear Team 6. Can we make that a thing, please? If I remember my algebra correctly, you could substitute 3 Kodiak bears for the polar bear. Math checks out. Or imagine the Revenant, but the bear has a musket too. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Guys, once again, keep in mind, don't get freaked out. It's just a budget request. It's not a very good one. It's trending more in the bad, but there's still good stuff in here. You're welcome. Thanks, first. Thanks for reeling us back in, man. I'm muted because I'm on a work call. Here. Grav, that's all you need to know. It's not like you can hear me. Oh, no. Oh, man, 24 times 1.0. Or I could just click too fast to 24 times 1.08. I hate this calculator sucks. Yeah. Yeah, Rocket Guy, that's no good. Can you maybe do a quick recap of this? I didn't catch the beginning of the stream. Yeah, alright. To close it out, guys, because I gotta go. I gotta do stuff today. To close it out, it's not particularly good budget request, but it's not bad either. It's kind of just right in the middle. Maybe trending a little bit towards the bad side. Yeah, inflation does that, man. Like, I understand the circumstances for why we have 7% inflation, but yeah, it's gonna have some effects, and this is one of them. Last, some nice hot pictures drop. Stuff you're just gonna go watch YouTube. Yeah, sure. The RS1 has been lifted at Kodiak. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. We'll check those out in a second. Yeah, man, look, fellas, I'm trying to, like, Remember what I said? So the first thing that I precursed this with, when we started going in and analyzing the budget request, is that, look, it's just a budget request. This isn't gospel. Don't get freaked out by it. Like, with that being said, it's kind of difficult. It's difficult to do that, considering that, I mean, I care a lot about space. We need to go out, and we need to. We have to. It's just as imperative as figuring out what Earth's climate is doing. That's really, really important. We have to do all of those things. Can't do one and not the other. That's the reality of the situation. And because space is something that I care about like a lot, it's hard to keep my biases out of this. The reality is that this budget request isn't bad, but it's not necessarily good either. It's basically just combating NASA's budget for inflation, which is basically something that happened in 2012, 2013, 2014. I mean, part of the reason why that was going on is because of the recession. The recession really tanks the space program pretty hard. Yeah, pretty tough. So, how about a brief bit of space news? How about I go get my errands done that I need to get done, Firework? Not to be mean, but guys, I would love to sit here and do space news. But dude, if I sit here and do space news, I'm going to do space news for the next 10 hours, and then the bank's going to be closed. There's... Dude, I have to go. So, but yeah, this budget request isn't great, but it's not bad either. It's mostly just a band-aid to combat for the ridiculous inflation that we have. So, we can talk more about it tomorrow. And once again, I'm always down for discussing spaceflight policy. I think that's the meat and potatoes to. That's where it starts. Like, that's how you start doing stuff like the Apollo program. That's the seeds. That's laying the seeds. So. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the state of NASA and the subsequent discussion. We can talk more about it tomorrow. All right? I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you.